They pose as humans even though they have no understanding of the human heart. They eat even though they've never experienced hunger. They study even though they have no interest in academics. They seek friendship even though they do not know how to love. If I were to encounter such a monster, I would likely be eaten by it.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Based Network. I'm your host, Israel Populum. Today we have a pretty interesting story, something that, it's on the tip of everyone's tongue. Everyone's talking about this. You go on Instagram, go on YouTube, go on Reddit. It's everywhere. You cannot escape it. Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. This is probably one of the biggest stories that's going to be released during the Trump administration. I truly think this is what he's going to be remembered by. When we talk about Bill Clinton, we all remember, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Everyone remembers that. We talk about JFK, everyone remembers that he got shot in the head. Talk about Nixon, everyone remembers the Watergate. This will be the clear memory of Donald Trump's administration, and he cannot escape that. The cover-up has been disheartening because it's so blatant and in everyone's face. And it's very easy to shit on the Trump administration, and you should, but we have to remember that this is a cover-up that has been going on for 4 administrations now. And it seems like Jeffrey Epstein was involved with intelligence. Whether or not it's Russia, spoiler alert, it's not Russia. Or if it's China. Oh, there's one other country I'm trying to remember that he might have been connected to. Oh yeah, Israel. Yeah, I think that's the country. This is a cover-up that's been going on for a long time. But obviously you know that. Obviously, you're clicking on this video just to rehear what you've heard already. But let me tell you something you might not have heard about. Something that I think is very important and kind of adds a lot of context to how this story has been covered up in the past. So, first things first, I want to start off with a brief little debrief on, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, Pizzagate, right? Pizzagate was a conspiracy that broke in 2016 after WikiLeaks released John Podesta's emails about a month before the election, or 2 months before the election. And in these emails, it was littered with, number one, regular emails, and number two, very weird, cryptic, hidden messages using words like pizza, pasta, cheese, in a very weird way that alluded to the fact that they might have been, not talking about pizza. Maybe they were talking about, sex trafficking women. Now, obviously that's insane because the elites of this country would never do something like that, as we know, obviously. But Pizzagate was debunked 100% because some guy pulled up to a pizza spot and shot it up. And then every time someone talked about Pizzagate, that image was linked to it, and you were labeled a dangerous conspiracy theorist. Now, does anyone remember where Pizzagate blew up or where the conversations first started over this? It was 4chan. Now, if you don't know what 4chan is, I don't blame you if you're not an internet creature, an internet demon. 4chan is an internet board. It's a board where people can come in and talk about whatever they want. On 4chan, it's not moderated like Reddit or any of the other platforms. Because it's kind of about like free speech and you can say whatever you want and you can be anonymous. And a lot of, at least on the right wing, a lot of political movements started here, a lot of conversations started here, and a lot of memes started here. And if you paid attention to my channel, I talk about memes a lot because I think memes are pretty integral in the way that politics works nowadays. When I'm saying meme, I don't mean like AI Jeffrey Epstein twerking on Diddy, right? I'm talking about a cultural unit that can be spread like a virus, like the actual meaning of memes, memetics. And a lot of this starts off on 4chan. Pepe the Frog, other memes like that. And Pizzagate, and QAnon. If you guys remember QAnon. QAnon was another one of these conspiracies. Now, Pizzagate's important to keep memory hold because it was the first time something like this kind of got exposed to the wider public. Now, maybe it wasn't the first time, but it was definitely the first time I was locked in and was paying attention to the fact that some elites might have undesirable interests, just to say it like that, for YouTube. Now, after the shooting at Comet Ping Pong, the conspiracy theorists got completely covered up and debunked. And you have to realize that a lot of the Comet Ping Pong narrative was added onto Pizzagate after 4chan, when people started using 4chan. Now, why is 4chan important? It's just like Twitter, it's just like Reddit, it's just like one of these other platforms where people talk on. The reason why 4chan is important and why people are talking about it now is because during this recent Jeffrey Epstein leak, it was confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein spoke to the creator of 4chan. Now, whatever, Jeffrey Epstein spoke to so many different people. Now, would it be surprising if I told you that Jeffrey Epstein spoke to the creator of 4chan. I think his internet name is Nook, something like that. And the next day, they opened up the politically incorrect board. Now, if you don't know what the politically incorrect board is, again, I don't blame you if you're not an internet creature. It's basically, again, one of these boards that you can come in and talk and put these memes. I mean, you could probably see Pepe the Frog here. Probably see Pepe the Frog, right? And they just post memes. They have conversations. They post conspiracies. And a lot of internet conversation starts here. But when we put into perspective that Jeffrey Epstein spoke to the creator of 4chan, and the next day they opened up the political board, is there any kind of manipulation going on there? And you have to realize that it's not just on one side, because I can get into Maxwell Hill after, which was a Reddit account supposedly owned by Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, and was a very big moderator account who was the first one to hit 1 million karma. If you don't know what karma is, again, internet creature, I appreciate you that you don't know what that is, because if you did, you're cooked, like me. And she was a moderator for a lot of the news boards, politics boards, and things where, conversation happened, places where conversations happen, where debate happens. And this is a Instagram, The Basement. I saw an article with them, and they explained a good amount of this. Moot, yeah, that's the guy's name. And a lot of these emails, if I can zoom in here for you guys, where they link up this, and I'll post this in the description so you guys can check it out for yourself and read this article for yourself, because they have an article here. It makes you think, how much of this internet is controlled? Because again, Jeffrey Epstein was a very connected individual. Scarily connected. He says he was connected with the Rothschilds. He had basically everyone in his contact book. People say that Jeffrey Epstein was a guy that you can get to and literally get any call ever. He helped Ehud Barak get in contact with certain people, which is the Prime Minister of Israel. And he also had emails talking with Ehud Barak saying he definitely wasn't Mossad, with the smiley face. He had to add the smiley face in there. Because again, I mean, we're not talking about Jeffrey Epstein's connection with Israel right now in this video, but, you could do the research for yourself, and you can figure that out. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because with Pizzagate, we were touching power. We were touching the real story. And it was split off and segmented strategically on these internet boards. Now, where is a lot of internet talk? Where is a lot of internet talk happening now, right? Especially with the youth, because the youth is important. The youth is where you have to put the propaganda tendrils. Because the boomers, they're cooked. There's no hope for the boomers. I mean, if you're a boomer out here watching this, because there was a boomer who was watching one of my videos, and he got pissed at me in the comments and was like, we're not all bad. You know what? We love our boomers. We love our woke boomers. But unfortunately, a good portion of you are f***ing stupid. Oh, crap. Yeah, we implemented a swear jar. Just because I'm trying to curse less. But you guys are freaking stupid. And you guys watch CNN, Fox News slop all day and get your brains eroded. Now, you know what's the real secret? Gen Z, millennials, and Gen Alpha are stupid too. And you know why? Because instead of being on CNN and Fox News, we're on these boards like 4chan, Reddit, TikTok, or TikSlop, I like to call it, Instagram. And these social media platforms are used to specifically manipulate you into supporting certain things. Now, obviously, that's self-evident, right? It's called propaganda for a reason. But I think a lot of people, especially my age, believe that they cannot be propagandized by propaganda. And this kind of shows it. Well, this is a little bit older, because I think millennials were more on 4chan. Millennials were more on Reddit. TikTok is really where the Gen Z like to live. But especially with 4chan and Reddit, I mean, it's pretty obvious that had infiltration, that had manipulation. Now, with TikTok, you're seeing the same thing, with David Ellison purchasing it. And now you can't even write certain stuff on comments. You can't even say Jeffrey Epstein's name in DMs. Because it's completely controlled opposition. And Benjamin Netanyahu already had a conversation and said that American propaganda is the eighth front of his war. Because they need America. They need America to support them. Otherwise, they get destroyed. It's part of national security for them. So again, propaganda is real. Propaganda is real. And you can be propagandized even if you don't think you can be. Now, especially with this Jeffrey Epstein situation, I wanted to go over and talk about a little bit more about how crazy the situation is and how nobody is really going in on it, especially mainstream media. Because, again, the older generation really holds power right now in the country because they're the ones who are voting. They're the ones who that need to be appealed to. They're the ones with a lot of money. And they're the ones who are blind to the situation, unfortunately. So I wanted to go over a couple of these just to get the full scope of what might be happening here. First things first, I want to break down the whole Pizzagate scandal, the whole Pizzagate situation. And I think it's important because it validates the Pizzagate theory, because in the Jeffrey Epstein emails, they had a lot of pizza-related imagery. And it's not just pizza. They talk about jerky, they talk about grape soda, they talk about all of it, but let's get into it. Now, this is a compilation of some of the pizza-related references in the file. I got this off Instagram. You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's pizza. She looks pregnant. Pizza's pregnant. Weird. Just wanted to let you know the crew was very appreciative of the pizza today. Thank you for letting us do that. RNS. You know, maybe this was just a pizza party. This is probably just a pizza party, right? Regular pizza party, nothing to look here. Right? It makes sense to me. Let's say 4 p.m. It shouldn't take long, maybe a couple of hours for the casting with an ass. Weird. Then I will make a pizza mold after. I'll have it ready for you to come back. Since we're not going crazy for detail, you can just wear either skin-tight nylons or just a thong if you want to. Nothing, it's entirely up to you, but I think one is going to be about the contours. We need a thong and nylon to eat pizza at a pizza party? Very strange. I mean, I don't know what kind of pizza party you're into or what casting with ass bolded. Very weird. Let's get into here. Chunky. I forgot about that. What time do you want to get pizza and grape soda tomorrow? You know, pizza and grape soda. The last time I ate pizza and grape soda together, I was maybe like 3 years old at a pizza. So I actually remember this because I got the crushed grape soda and I was like, oh, this is peak. This is the greatest combo ever. Pizza and grape soda. We love that. But I don't think they're talking about pizza and grape soda. Maybe you can believe that. I don't. I'm not a fool. We have situations here. They're saying send pizza to Bobby. Let me pull that up here for you. We're talking about here, send pizza to Bobby. So, was Jeffrey Epstein also in the pizza trade? Was he also in the pizza business? In part to being a Mossad agent, being in finance? Was he also in the pizza business? That's how he was making his drum money. You know how Jeffrey Epstein was really becoming a billionaire? Because he was selling pizza. He was working with Papa John's and selling pizza and selling grape soda. Maybe he was talking about jerky. You know. Let's talk about this email here, which is probably the very weird one, because it adds to the satanic angle of this whole situation. Because obviously, you know, for you to be able to sexually assault children, you need to be a little bit of a demon. You need to have some demonic influence. And the top level of that is cannibalism and eating babies. Oh, whoa, that's conspiracy. There's no actual proof of that. Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky class, anyone? He also brings you a taste of his jerky recipe from the restaurant. He sends a warm hello. He's working on a restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks. Wait for it. Beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. tomorrow, if that's okay with you. Now, he could just be trying to open up a restaurant. But let's continue with the jerky angle. How's your jerky situation? Should I bring any more? You can go to Wawa and get a huge array of different jerkies. Right? Beef jerky, it's great. It tastes great. Why would billionaires be speaking with each other about getting jerky? You think they need a special jerky? I think it might be a special jerky they're eating. A special jerky that you can't buy at the store. Maybe it's a special jerky that you need 6 55-gallon tubs of sulfuric acid to hide up. Could it be that? Let's get into that one. Let's look at this, folks. Right, this is an AI overview. Newly released documents from Jeffrey Epstein case, specifically from the files released on January 30th, 2026, indicate that 330 gallons of sulfuric acid, comprising of 6 55-gallon drums, were delivered to his Little St. James, Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, the reason it's important is because the shipping date coincides with an FBI investigation into Epstein's trafficking network. The day of. So that lets you know Jeffrey Epstein had connections with the FBI because he was tipped off about the opening of the investigation. And then he orders sulfuric acid. What could you possibly need sulfuric acid for other than carrying up and burning bodies? Now, obviously, you're like, okay, bro, we all know this. You're not saying anything new. And I agree with you. Yeah, I'm not bringing anything new to the table. I'm not here profoundly uncovering things that I found for myself. But the reason I want to talk about this is because Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Donald Trump, Dan Bongino, all these little creatures that use this situation to gain political power and then obviously trying to cover it up are demons. They're all demons because there is abundant proof in these emails that Jeffrey Epstein was sex trafficking. At the very least, he was sex trafficking to other people. Bare minimum of what's in here. And the maximum is a demonic cult eating children. Now, if you're going to put a gun to my head and say, well, is this 100% true? I might tell you, hey, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, But when there's smoke, there's fire. And if there's a fire in your house, or there's smoke burling all over your house, and the firefighters who are paid to go in and stop the fire are sitting there on their ass playing on TikTok, or like Pam Bondi with a stack full of opposition research instead of, research on the topic she's supposed to be having when she was on the hearing, it lets you know who they actually work for. They don't work for the American people. These people are demons. They're demons. And again, I wanted to start off with the whole 4chan conversation because the levels of propaganda are so thick, you can't even see it. And you have to realize that online is the new space. Online is the new battlefield for ideas. It's not mainstream media versus independent media anymore. Pay attention to who you're listening to. Because if your favorite podcaster is out here saying there's nothing to be seen here, maybe they're bought out. Because this is the clearest example of us versus them. Of political power versus the people. This is the clearest example of that. And it's undeniable. Quite frankly, undeniable. So when Ben Shapiro comes out here, because there's an obvious motive, because he's an operative for the Israeli state, clear as day, and he goes, nothing's happening with the Epstein files. Nothing at all. Okay. And then all these emails release, and he's focusing on Steve Bannon. So why don't you focus on Israel? Why don't you focus on who this guy was working for? Or I thought nothing was happening. Anyways. And that makes you think, because it's like there's a huge correlation between people covering up this Jeffrey Epstein and people cucking and sucking Israel's anytime they can. This isn't a play. This isn't a game, people. This is America. This is a country. And this is truly a litmus test of what the American people will allow to happen. We saw that with COVID, obviously, because they locked everyone into their house and everyone shut up like a good little boy and stayed in their house and took the vaccine and wore the mask. And no one did anything. Now they're releasing there are pedophiles in our government and no one does anything. Palantir, who was also connected with Epstein because he was talking, there's even a conversation where he's talking about Peter Thiel in a way that he wants to go in to try to recruit him. Wonder what happened with that. Palantir's out here collecting data on all Americans, compiling it for, the American government to see. Just like what happened with the NSA, spy taps with Edward Snowden. And everyone freaked out then, but now no one cares. Nothing's happening. You have to realize that the Overton window is shifting. Shifting, constantly. And the powers that be are constantly trying to rip away your rights. Manipulate the country. That's what's happening here. And nobody is paying attention. Like, people on the internet are paying attention, but they're just like me. All I can do here is sit here and yap. We need to mobilize. People need to protest. People need to let the American government know that they will not let this slide. Because if this slides, I guarantee you, come 40 years, America will be drastically different than it is today. There will be no freedom of speech. Because if the government is raping children and no one does anything, when they come and they shut you up for criticizing Israel or criticizing the administration, you're not going to do shit either. So, spare me. Spare me with the garbage. And I guarantee you, nothing will come of this. But we must hope. Thank you so much for watching Base Network today. This is a little bit of a crash out video, but it's okay because, you know, we love you guys. I love you guys. We is me, but we love you guys. Okay, here at the Base Network. I'm gonna get someone soon to hop on the channel with me, and yeah. So thank you so much. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, all the things. You know what to do. Peace.